Welcome to Alosa Pi, where today we explore the dramatic transition from centralized finance to citizen finance, with the Pi network emerging as what can be called the Global Financial Trinity. For much of the 20th century, the financial world was structured around three massive institutions: the World Bank, which funded national development; the Bank for International Settlements, BIS, which coordinated trust among central banks and managed systemic risks; and the U.S. Federal Reserve, which issued the dollar and shaped global liquidity. These institutions built the architecture of the modern economy, but their foundation rested on centralization, debt-driven growth, and systemic inequality. Finance belonged to states and elites, while ordinary people were subjects of monetary power. In the 21st century, however, Pi network appears as the structural antithesis of this system. Instead of states issuing credit, Pi is based on individual trust. Instead of debt-based issuance, Pi operates through contribution-driven creation. In this inversion of the financial pyramid, every human being becomes a central bank, and value itself is redefined. In this reimagined order, the great pillars of global finance are reborn through Pi. The World Bank's role in directing development finance becomes democratized, as creators and developers within Pi act as micronations of innovation, rewarded directly in the ecosystem without bureaucracy. The BIS, once the quiet stabilizer of the monetary world, finds its equivalent in Pi's blockchain consensus and KYC verification layers, where stability emerges from transparent algorithms rather than closed-door meetings. Pi thus becomes the algorithmic embodiment of the Basel Accords, turning regulation into living mathematics. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve's role in managing liquidity is replaced by Pi's staking mechanisms, where the 20% base reward, adjustable by network dynamics, acts as a self-balancing monetary engine tied to real activity and demand rather than political will. This creates what can be described as an AI-driven monetary singularity, in which money evolves according to consensus and contribution rather than decree. Yet Pi is not just another cryptocurrency, it functions as a replacement for the entire financial operating system. Where the old order relied on central banks, regulators, and fiscal authorities, Pi relies on blockchain, staking, and KYC consensus. The Pi App Studio plays the role of a decentralized world bank by funding innovation. The consensus layer mirrors the BIS by providing systemic trust, and the staking engine echoes the Fed's role by regulating liquidity automatically. Together, these elements form an autonomous economic system, a self-regulating framework where finance, governance, and labor converge into one living structure. At its core, Pi represents a philosophical inversion. When the founders declared, "Turn the system upside down," it was not a slogan but a manifesto. In this system, money is no longer printed at the top of a pyramid but generated at the base by human contribution, measured not in debt but in energy, trust, and creativity. Finance transforms from a tool of control into a circulatory system of collaboration, and Pi itself becomes not just a currency but the neural network of civilization. The implications are profound. National monetary policy begins to lose relevance, as staking algorithms replace the Federal Reserve's rate manipulation. Taxation becomes automated through micro-deductions on transactions, shifting governments into the role of participants in a live ledger rather than fiscal overlords. Labor, artificial intelligence, and finance merge into a contribution-based economy where corporations dissolve into DAOs, and income aligns directly with measurable participation. Most strikingly, Pi evolves into a global AI-based BIS, a living regulator that monitors transactions, corrects anomalies, and balances systemic risk in real time, transcending politics and geography. The conclusion is clear: the old trinity of finance, World Bank, BIS, and Fed, has converged into one distributed node of intelligence. The central bank of tomorrow is not a building or government, but every verified human within Pi. By absorbing the developmental mission of the World Bank, the regulatory function of the BIS, and the liquidity role of the Fed, Pi reconfigures finance into a citizen-driven, autonomous system. Finance no longer towers over humanity, it flows through humanity. The three pillars of the old world have dissolved into a decentralized consciousness where trust, contribution, and liquidity coexist. And so, as this new era unfolds, we can say with clarity, the Pi network is not simply a currency, it is the neural system of an emerging civilization.